started. My name is Sam DeGrave, and I'm the editor of The Technician, and I'd like to thank you all for coming to the 2014 Student Body President Debate. We have until 7. I'm not sure whether it will take that long, but after we finish the formal part of the debate, the floor will be open to all of you for questions. But let me go ahead and explain the rules. This debate will work as follows. We had a coin toss, the Super Bowl style, and Elena won. She's elected to answer the first question first, so the order will switch on the next question and the next question after that. As such, we'll start the debate with introductory statements from each of the candidates, lasting no more than 3 minutes each. Josue Molina, right there in the maroon shirt, will be taking care of the time. He will alert each candidate when they have 30 seconds left, and then when their time is up. I'm about to go take my seat, and we can get started. I'll be sitting right there in the crowd, and with me on a panel asking questions is Ravi Chitilla. He is an assistant news editor right now and will be the editor of The Technician next year. So he'll be the one you guys are dealing with. And we have 8 questions for the candidates. Each question will, the candidates will be given 2 minutes to answer. So if there are no further questions about the rules of the debate, we'll go ahead. I'll take my seat over there and we'll get started. All right, thanks again for coming. All right, so Elena, you will start with your 3-minute introductory speech.
Quick question, is it 3 minutes for myself, 3 minutes for Grant?
3 minutes for the both of you.
Okay.
Sorry, the way it will work with each question, unless it's specifically asked to or targeted to one person, both the student body president candidate and the student body vice president candidate are free to answer and work as a team. So, Elena, without further ado, you can start us.
Hi everyone, thank you all for coming out. My name is Elena Probst, and I'm running with Grant Doe for student body president and student body vice president. I'm a junior majoring in political science from Kaiser, North Carolina, which is in the middle of nowhere, but it's near Shelby, North Carolina. I'm running today because of my passions in student government, in leadership, and in service. And I'm running with Grant because I like to call ourselves the perfect match, a little duo that we've worked together for a little over a year now. We know how amazing we are together. 2 heads are better than 1, and we have all the experience to prove it. I've been working in student government ever since I stepped foot on this campus, and I have experience in both the Senate branch and in the executive branch. Grant was freshman class president in UNCW, and he transferred here to NC State. And another thing that we have in common is our love for the Wolfpack. Grant's a legacy, and I'm a first-generation college student. One thing that does make us different, but one thing that will remain the same is our love for the students, for advocating for the students, and for working on a platform dedicated to advocacy, communication, and diversity. That's the heart of our passions and the heart of our platform, because we wanted to write something and run off of something that took into the account of all the students here at NC State, something that is a platform for the students, written by the students, that incorporates what's in our hearts, but in every one of your hearts as well. We're very dedicated to the mission of serving the student body, and we've done the research to prove that. We've met with over 60 student organizations, faculty, staff, administration, in order to make that point that we're dedicated to working with students, not just in the past year together, but for a continuation of our time serving and leading others.
3 minutes over.
You still have 1 minute, however.
I'll take that 1 minute.
All right.
I am Grant Doe, and I'm a junior here at State, majoring in business with a concentration in marketing. My student government experience began at UNC Wilmington, as Elena mentioned. I was freshman class president there. I decided to transfer because I love this school, and I am a legacy, and I wanted to be on this campus. As a transfer student, I see changes here on this campus that can be made, and I want to make those changes. So being a part of the Elena team, the Elena and Grant team, I believe that we can make sure that happens next year. We are going to be transparent, and I'm going to hold everyone that has a leadership position in student government accountable.
All right, thank you. You can turn off your mics. Let Rusty on the floor. All right, Rusty, whenever you're ready.
My name is Rusty Mao, and I'm a candidate for student body president. This is my running mate, Devin Riley, and we are running to put students first. Each and every student in this room pays $20 a year to student government, and we feel like the organization has done a disservice to each and every one of you. Student government should matter to every student on campus. We want to advocate for each and every one of you to the NC State Board of Trustees, to Chancellor Randy Woodson, to our Vice Chancellors, as well as our North Carolina elected officials. We both bleed Wolfpack red, and we love this university. We each only have 1 year of experience in student government, but we have made a tangible impact to serve students. We believe that student government can always continue to do more, and that's what we're going to do as your student body president and vice president. We have the demonstrated leadership, the proven results, and the effective communication methods to be able to put students first.
What's the amount of time? About 2 minutes. You know, I'll speak some more to the fact that we only have 1 year of student government experience. I think sometimes when a change is needed, I think it takes new kids on the block. And I think our 1 year of experience has taught Rusty and myself enough to know where the gaps are. And we believe that the gaps between the student body and student government on this campus are to be bridged by collaboration with student organizations. Rusty and myself have spent the last week and a half speaking to as many student organizations as we can squeeze into one evening. And we intend to keep that trend going if elected. We want to take the message, we want to take the drive of each student organization on this campus, from every corner of this campus, and incorporate them into conversations of student governance, and incorporate them into things that get done in Senate chambers, in the executive cabinet, and we want to have a results-oriented administration.
Thank you. All right, we'll now move into the question section. Remember, again, each question you'll have 2 minutes to answer. You do not need to use all 2 minutes, but they're there for you if you'd like. And we'll be starting with Rusty. So, arguably one of the most important roles you will have to fulfill as student body president is being a voting member on the NC State Board of Trustees. If elected, how will you work to be the voice of the student body in this position?
A vote on the NC State University Board of Trustees is extremely important, as it dictates policies affecting all students on campus. One area that I already have a skill set in is, as a Chancellor's Aide, I've built relationships with the Chancellor as well as our Board of Trustees members, and that will allow me to feel comfortable in that room to talk with them about what students are thinking. Devin mentioned for the last week and a half, we've been speaking with as many student organizations as we can fit in an evening, and that's what we're going to keep doing. We will talk to our elected campus leaders. We will talk to our appointed campus leaders, and we will talk to every student to see how different Board of Trustee policies affect them, what they want to see from a student body president voice for them. We're running to put all students first, and we're running to be the unified voice of the student body here at North Carolina State University. So the first step to being that student voice is student input. We have friends who work with PAC poll, and we'd like to implement survey techniques to really gauge the pulse of the PAC. We would also like to continue to work with our student leaders and collaborate with different students, whether it's through feedback on Facebook groups or responses to the HOWL listserv. But the fact of the matter is, the hardest part about being a Board of Trustees is understanding the system and being able to work within it. We have that experience, we have those connections, and that's the first step to learning what it takes to be the student voice at the North Carolina State University Board of Trustees. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Elena?
So one thing that Grant and I asked ourselves before we even thought about running is, If we want to know what students think and what students want, and if we want to be able to relay that to the Board of Trustees, why would we start meeting with student organizations only during elections? And that's why, as communication chairs, we set out to find out what students are thinking and what students want and what are the real issues that matter to them. So that was one of the first steps that we took together as a team to really dive into making a platform. And that platform is what we wanted to show to Board of Trustees that students care about and that students want, and what we should be advocating for to the Board of Trustees. Ways that we're going to be able to reach out to students is by meeting with them and doing like what we've been doing this past year, sitting down, having that FaceTime, having that one-on-one with student leaders, part of roundtable where student leaders get together and discuss these issues, but to not just keep doing what we've been doing, but take a step further than that and have lunch with the leaders, be visible on campus, to have that accessible approach where we're going to make it easy for students to talk to us because we're not going to be shut away in our office. We're going to be working together, utilizing that vice president position to take the stress off of a student body president and really get down with the students, advocating for them in a personal manner. I don't know if you want to follow up.
And I think with our experience, we're going to work very closely with the students first, and then we will also be working collaborating with administration and faculty. And we're not going to let our relationship with either affect what we're going to advocate for. If the students are going to be transparent with us, and we're going to be transparent with them, then we're going to speak for the students. We're not going to let a relationship that we may have with faculty and administration bar us from advocating for the students.
All right, thank you. This next question is a follow-up, and we'll start with Elena. In the event that a particular issue garners significant student support and equally significant opposition by trustees, what will you do?
Well, that's kind of perfect timing. What Grant just mentioned is that we're going to put students first by doing more than just words or writing it down or forming a platform. We're going to be following that up with action. We've met with students. We have only begun this long road ahead of us where we're finding out what students want, what students care about. And that means listening to the voices and communicating that, streamlining that process, using that personal FaceTime with the Board of Trustees and making sure that our relationship doesn't hinder us with putting students first. And since you just talked about it, did you want to follow up?
That's perfect. And we believe that we're not trying to say that our relationship with the faculty or administration is something that we do not want. We are going to honor that, and we're going to hold that with respect. But we are saying that we are a bridge between the students and the faculty and administration. And we are going to use that bridge to propel and be the best potential bridge that can be for the students and the faculty and administration.
All right. Rodney.
You know, I think there was a good point in that answer, and that's that Devin and I are running on a slogan to put students first. At the end of the day, the student body president is the one voting student in that room. The way I see it, if the students have a unified opinion, we talk to the Board of Trustees and we say, you cannot sway my vote because we will stand firm for the students of North Carolina State University because that's who elects us to do it. It doesn't matter what relationships we have. It's about listening to students and following through with that vote, and that is what we're going to do because Devin and I believe that we really will and need to put students first. That's what we want to see at the Board of Trustees level. So we'll build upon those relationships and we'll talk with them and say, look, this is why students feel this way. You need to understand the North Carolina State University would not have its doors open without the students. We pay the bills. The state helps just a little bit, but they need to understand that we are a force to be reckoned with. And as student body president, I won't back down to the Board of Trustees. I will be a voice for everyone in this room and all students at NC State.
And if elected to the vice presidential role, you know, I can serve as a liaison between Rusty and the Board of Trustees and the student body. And if the student body chooses to elect Rusty and myself next week, I would hope that the first thing they consider when they elect us is our character and our integrity. And that character and integrity is what we're going to take into the Board of Trustee meetings, into every cabinet meeting we have, every survey we send out. We're going to give our firm promise that we will carry through on everything we say we're going to do.
In the past, NC State student government has had an interesting relationship with the UNC System Association of Student Governments. Do you plan to work with ASG, and if so, how?
This is for you.
That's a great question. It's a great question. This year I've had the pleasure of serving as our NC State delegate to the University Association of Student Governments, and our goal was to make the organization do something, to reform it, to bring student funds back to NC State. Every year we spend $30,000 from NC State student fees, $1 per student to this association, and before now we have received zero from the organization. So this year I made it a goal that we would get over $8,000, and we have. Next year, I'd like to make it 15. Our own student body president, Alex Parker, will be the president of the association next year, and I'd like to work with that relationship that I've developed with him this year at ASG and continue to make sure that ASG works for all NC State students and all UNC system students. Because although ASG may have negative press because it hasn't been effective, we have shown that this year, through reforms and through attending those meetings and being engaged, we can bring fees back to NC State. We've even brought $8,000 to different student organizations across campus to benefit all students. And that's something that we won't stop with. We'd like to sit in on those Board of Governors meetings. Now, Alex Parker will be the only student that can speak at the Board of Governors level, but it's about developing relationships. Additionally, the student body president serves on the Council of Student Body Presidents and has the ability to work with the student body presidents across UNC. That's how Devin and I have gotten the support of the student body presidents of UNC Greensboro, UNC Asheville, Western Carolina University, and Appalachian State University, because we are committed to making sure that ASG advocates for all students across the University of North Carolina, and especially North Carolina State University.
My freshman year, I had the opportunity to work with ASG when I was invited to go with all the student body presidents in the UNC institution to lobby for lower fees in Washington, D.C., and that's when I was really able to gain some insight into ASG. It's a great organization fundamentally, but what's bothering students is the lack of transparency and communication. My personal experience with ASG and getting money from them has been a roller coaster of emotions. Working as the president of Dance Marathon and requesting money myself, it wasn't until I cornered ASG at Dance Marathon demanding to find out where the money was, and it came to us eventually. And it's that communication between ASG and the organizations that's really going to make an impact for students. And what we want to work for is making sure that students understand what's going on in ASG and what we're fighting for, and that's to streamline the communication process. So having that relationship with members in ASG, like the president, Alex, now, we're going to be able to have a very similar relationship with him as we will with the Board of Trustees, where we have that relationship, yet we're still going to remain firm in our stances and be able to help students here at NC State first, and make sure that whatever's going on with our students at NC State, that they're fully informed of everything that ASG is working on.
In my relationship with ASG, it's founded upon the fact that I am a transfer student. I have been through the UNC system. I've been to 3 different schools within that system. And so there I see the collaboration at work, and I see as a student at one university how that can be valued at all universities for any student. So ASG definitely plays a strong role. It's just all about that transparency that needs to happen for any student that is outside this room. If we went up and said, so what is ASG to you, for them to be able to answer that.
This is a question for Elena. Last week, the Student Senate passed a bill that includes a gender identity and sexual orientation option on the admissions application. This bill has since been a topic of debate between students. What is your stance regarding the bill, and if elected, how will you promote diversity at NC State?
I don't know how to make this work. Okay. In regards to the bill, Alex Grindstaff, the senator that did write the bill and present it deserves, full credit. Credit is there due to him. But I met with the GLBT Center, and as communications director, I wanted to find out how we can better NC State students on the topic of diversity. I'm the only candidate that has diversity in the platform, specifically related to the GLBT community as well, and we are in full support of the bill because as much as debate that has been going around, we understand that making those steps and helping further the inclusion here at NC State is something that we're passionate about and that we wanted to support because that's some of the issues that the GLBT community presented to us when we met with them previously in the year. So it's on our platform, it's something that we wanted to stand behind, and that along with making sure that student leaders go through programs like Project Safe, making sure that people know that we're not here to change anyone's personal views. What we're here to make sure that every student leader is equipped with the resources and with the knowledge to help the students, because you can't help a student if you're not educated first. And Project Safe is one of those programs that helps educate students on diversity. That, along with the gender identification process on the admissions, is going to help with furthering diversity here on this campus.
And this is a subject that Elaine and I feel very passionate about, which is why it plays a large part in our platform. And with that bill passing, Elaine and I, we both agree that we agree with that bill and what it stands for, and we stand for those students on this campus that are affiliated with that, and for the potential students that will be on this campus. Every student should be protected.
In reference to the piece of legislation, I fully support it. I think it's extremely important because what it will allow is the GLBT Center to connect with students in that community who don't currently connect with the GLBT Center. They don't feel safe on our campus. The results of the most recent climate survey are quite disturbing because there are students on NC State's campus who don't feel welcome, who don't feel a part of the Wolfpack. So specifically to the question about diversity is for the last week, it's been alluded to that Devin and I don't care about diversity. But the question becomes, why wouldn't we care about diversity? Diversity is more than the appearance of someone's skin. Diversity is why we think what we think, why we do what we do, where we come from, why we believe what we believe. And at NC State, every student should have the right to believe what they believe, and every student should feel comfortable expressing those opinions. And I think this piece of legislation is the first step. It allows people who identify with the GLBT community to say that they identify on their application, to get the resources they need to feel comfortable at NC State. As student body president and vice president, we will continue to pursue methods like this that allow students to feel comfortable, because that's the true diversity, is how you look in here on the heart. And that is something that we need to understand if we truly want to understand diversity. Devin and I have both been trained in a diversity academy led by Dr. Rupert McCost, and we've read his book, and we understand that this is an issue that needs to be solved on our campus, and we will fight to solve it. And we will fight to pursue more diversity here at NC State so that everyone feels comfortable being a part of the Wolfpack.
Right. As student body, you will not only be responsible for being the voice of, as student body president, not only will you be responsible for being the voice of the student body, but you will also have to keep your grades up while doing so. How do you plan to balance your duties as student body president with your duties as being a student?
I've only been here at NC State for 3 years, and I'm very fortunate to be able to graduate here in May. This fall, I'll be back as a master's student in the Department of Economics, and as student body president, I'll have the ability to create independent study coursework and make a portfolio of our reports and do research on student governance. With that independent study through my program, I'll only have to take 6 credit hours. So that means Tuesday and Thursday will be student government and academics. Monday, Wednesday, Friday will be students first and nothing else. And so that freedom and flexibility is going to allow me to maintain a track record of academic accomplishment. I've never had too many struggles. I mean, I've had late nights in the library, but I'm going to continue the system that I have, even as a graduate student, because I think that's the first step, is we need more graduate students involved in student governance. And Devin, what are your thoughts?
You know, the biggest thing that we learn when we come to college is time management and study skills, and that's something that I had zero experience when I got here, and now I think that I'm pretty good at it. I'm still improving. I improve every day on how to study. But as Rusty, I've been fortunate, been blessed to have had some academic success on this campus, and it is my priority. It's why I'm here. I'm here to get an education, and I will continue to get that great education that I'm getting. And as Rusty's schedule, my schedule is also Tuesday and Thursday next week, and Monday, Wednesday, Friday will be in this building right here, putting students first every day.
Growing up in the middle of nowhere, I knew that nothing was really guaranteed, and that includes college. I was the first person in my family to even mention going to college, and a lot of that was due to money. And I knew that whether I had a degree or not, I had to be out of NC State in 4 years, and I didn't want to let being a leader on campus hinder with graduation, but I also didn't want my academics to help not let me be a stronger leader. So one of the steps that I did take is meeting with my academic advisor and getting a sign-off that I can do both student body president position and still graduate on time. I think that's a great reason why the vice president position was made, because with that position, less stress will be put on the student body president, and the task will be more accomplishable. Our platform has a lot of goals and ambitions, and we want to make sure that we follow through with our promises, because we've done the research and we've met with those students, and we don't want to let them down. Other things that we have made sure that we want to follow through is that knowing our priority is leading students and serving students, and to let grades get in the way of following through with our promises isn't something that we want to jeopardize that. So we've taken all the steps to make sure that we'll be able to graduate, keep our grades up, and maintaining our leadership just the way that we've been doing these last 3 years as president of Dance Marathon, being in student government, and maintaining a job on campus in the residence hall, and still being able to maintain our grades.
And as a leader here on this campus, I value hard work, and I value anyone who can balance a schedule. I believe everyone in this room has very busy schedules. Even to be here right now, we have a ton of coursework to do. We have jobs, and I'm here to tell you that I'm one of those average students. Next year, I'm not going to have a schedule where I'm able to devote certain days to student government. I'm going to make that time. I'm going to do.
Though there may not be a place for partisan politics in student government, this is not the case in the state legislature. As student body president, you will often have to deal with policies made and implemented at the state level, and during the past 2 years, the NC General Assembly has made a few policies that have affected NC State. Please rate the recent performance of the NC legislature as it pertains to the UNC system, and discuss how you plan to advocate on behalf of the student body at the state level.
For Grant and I, what's important is making sure that students' voices are heard. And what we've shown is that we've been able to meet with students, and that's going to be our first priority. So the last part of your question, how we're going to make sure that students are being heard to the North Carolina legislature, is just making sure that we continue to do our job and to work with a team. You can't be anywhere or accomplish anything without a strong team. And we wouldn't be able to run if we didn't know that we had that support behind us. So while I may not be able to answer every question myself, I knew that I needed the expertise behind me and a strong team to support and being able to help answer those questions. So working with our team is how we're going to be able to make sure that the North Carolina legislature will be able to hear students here at NC State.
And it's with the power through that team and the connections and the support system that we'll have, that's where we can bring the voice of the students on this campus to the state level. And that is where the state will be able to hear the atmosphere and the voices of the students on this campus.
My freshman year, I had an internship in the courthouse, and that's where I was able to meet and get that FaceTime with many people that work with the legislation in North Carolina. So working at the courthouse, I was able to see a little bit of the legislation process, and I think that's going to be beneficial with working as student body president and keeping that face time with the people who make the larger decisions for North Carolina.
My mother is a middle school math teacher, and she doesn't believe in giving anyone a failing grade because there's always room for improvement. So I won't give the legislature an F, but I'll give them a D-. North Carolina has a strong higher education system because we used to make higher education a priority, and that's what we need from our state legislature. Their performance with the UNC system is horrific. This year I've seen how we go through the tuition and fee review process, and State Budget Director Art Pope just said no to the UNC system. We need funds. So starting May 15th, when the short session begins, as student body president, I will try to schedule meetings with as many elected officials, our governor, the lieutenant governor, and all our state reps and senators as possible. I've had the opportunity to work on Capitol Hill for a summer, and I understand how the political process works. If we can't meet with these elected officials, we'll meet with their staff members, because those are the people who really call the shots in North Carolina. We may not be able to change the public opinion of our legislator, and we might not be able to change who gets elected here in November, but this is an election year, and we can make sure that students try to vote, and we can make sure that our voices are heard to the legislator. There's some pretty big elections here in North Carolina coming up, and we're going to get a lot of attention. And if we have a student body president and vice president who go meet with Governor Pat McCrory and make statements about higher education as a priority in our state, chances are it's going to help. Because from day one, we're going to listen to students. We're going to hear the stories about how higher tuition and fees are hurting us, how our 24-hour libraries need to stay open, and we're going to lobby for each and every one of you, to Governor Pat McCrory, Speaker Tom Tillis, and Lieutenant Governor Dan Forrest, among others. We have the experience, and we will do this.
All right, this question is for Grant and Devin only. The student body vice president is a new position this year, and if elected, you will likely set the precedent for the job. What do you see as the role of the vice president, and how do you plan to fulfill this role?
Well, right now, the president has a pretty big job. Not only does he serve as the internal president of the executive branch on campus, but he also serves as the liaison to all the administration, the state government. And what this presidential position has done is it's cut this in half and narrowed the scope. And Rusty and I feel like the time has never been more than right to line our skill sets up with the 2 skill sets required for the jobs that are being asked of us. And I have a lot of experience with delegation. I have a lot of experience working with student leaders with Triangle Youth Leadership Service, and I think that as student body vice president, you know, the role will be to facilitate the conversations with the people on the cabinet so they can go out and spread that hard work, spread the precedent of dedication, spread the precedent of hard work to all the student organizations, and help bridge that gap, just like I said earlier.
As student body vice president, I'm going to hold people accountable. Being an exec this past year as director of communications, I've seen that we can go through a roundtable and people can say, oh, I haven't been doing anything, or there's nothing to report, and that's going to stop next year. We're going to hold these leaders accountable for every organization. I'm going to meet with every organization throughout the year. These meetings that we're having right now during the campaign, those need to happen throughout the entire year, not just during campaign season. We're going to make sure that within those executive cabinet meetings, that we stay transparent, that we listen, and that I'm going to be advocating. The weight does get pulled off of Elena's shoulders, because I'm going to be there helping her balance that work. I'm going to be meeting one-on-one with student leaders throughout this campus, and we're going to extend a hand to Centennial and main campus, and further those extension programs. We want to see this community grow with NC State. I value that the most. We are a research-based entity, and we're going to make sure that that continues and grows to its potential.
This question is for Elena and Rusty only. What about you sets you apart from your opponent? That is, if you are elected, what do you feel you will bring to the table that your opponent will not?
I will instead just talk about myself because I don't want to say anything negative at all. So instead, I'm going to say that one thing that sets me apart from really anyone is how passionate I am. I'm so passionate about the students here about the leadership and the growth that I've been able to experience here at NC State. I realized that students will come into student government and they'll be focused on resume padding or holding a title and not about the impact and the legacy that they're going to leave behind and the change that they're going to be making. And no one's really held accountable. So with Grant and I, one thing that I really want to accomplish is to get the student leaders involved who are passionate, who really want to make a difference and really want to do what they've set out to do. And that's to help change this state and change this university. With working on our platform, we've done the research. We know what's possible. We know the relationship with faculty and administration, and that knowing that the chancellor knows our first name is something that's going to help us be a voice and be a face that's very active in providing leadership and service to this university. So with working with our campaign, one thing that we've really been able to realize is that we're set apart with the strength of our team. We have a strong team. We have people who have already committed to helping us achieve the things on our platform, because it's not just words. There's action behind those words. And this is something that we're going to get accomplished whether we get elected or not, because these are changes that need to happen. Students have made their voices heard, and we're not going to ignore them because of the title or lack thereof. We're going to keep doing what we set out to do, and that's to be leaders and to provide a service to the students at NC State.
As a student at NC State University, not once have I sought a title just for the sake of a title. Not once have I tried to pad my resume just to pad my resume. I believe the one thing that sets me apart is my ability to affect change as a leader. I've been blessed with a world-class education here at NC State. We all have been blessed that we're here, and I think that it's my civic duty and moral obligation to give back to this university. Since stepping foot on campus at NC State, I've shown that commitment. My sophomore year, I had the ability to serve as co-chair of the Krispy Kreme Challenge, where we raised $184,000 for the North Carolina Children's Hospital. It was about the legacy that we built. This year, I served as an advisor to the organization, where we raised $200,000, bringing our cumulative donation total to over $750,000 in 10 years. It hasn't been about a title, it's about what we've done for the children at the hospital. In the past 2 years as a Chancellor's Aide, I've been able to establish relationships and give student feedback to our administrators and our alumni. Additionally, I've been able to work with our elected officials and say, look, this is what is affecting students. But it's effective leadership and being able to enact change that allowed me to serve in student government just this 1 year and help change the organization. I found out today that I was awarded the North Carolina State University Matthews Medal, the highest undergraduate distinction for university and community service. And what that is it's a testament to what I will continue to do as student body president. I will continue to affect change in our organizations. I will continue to lead student government, and I will continue to give back to NC State University. And that is what sets me apart.
All right, that's it for the questions generated by us at the technician, and we will now move into the student-submitted questions, of which there are 3, and the rules will proceed as they did previously. Let me again stress, these are student-submitted questions. All right. The university's strategic initiative directly names graduate student growth. In particular, it calls for a doctoral growth of 30%. How have you reached out to work with graduate students to ensure their success and research needs are met as a part of your platform?
There's a part of our platform that says that we'll make sure student government matters to all students. This year, we've had the opportunity to work alongside the president of the University Graduate Student Association, Matt Malillo, and right now, Devin and I are working alongside David Fiala, the future president of the organization, to make sure that our libraries stay open 24 hours. As a graduate student next year, I will continue to build upon these relationships and work to make sure that our graduate student support plan is attracting domestic graduate students, that we really are growing these PhD programs. We experienced negative growth of graduate students this year, And a lot of people don't understand, especially undergrads, that graduate students conduct a lot of the research that makes NC State University so great. And so we'd like to empower the UGSA, the University Graduate Student Association, to continue to affect change, to continue to advocate for graduate students. We're not going to step on toes, and we're not going to take over their mission. We're going to help supplement them and help them do even better.
You know, in Rusty and our recent conversations with David on keeping the 24-hour libraries, we've seen some numbers. And one of the numbers is that at 4 a.m. there are 90 students in both libraries combined. And one may think 90 just isn't that many students. But the statistics also show us that that's our graduate and PhD level students. And I think it'd be pretty poor leadership to say to those 90 students, sorry, it's 4 a.m., you gotta go home. We have a commitment to the 35,000 students that go to this school at 8 a.m. in the morning. We have a commitment to the 90 that are in our libraries at 4 a.m.
Grant and I actually just got done sitting down with David talking about the libraries and how we can be a stronger voice in advocating to keep the libraries open for 24 hours. So we're on a mission dedicated to graduate students. It's included in our platform because we want to reach out to every student. Every voice is strong, no matter how soft or loud, but together we are all stronger and louder. So with what we've been working on is making sure that we continue to reach out to students, that graduate or undergraduate, every voice will be heard and every voice will be equal. Other things that we want to make sure is that we include in our relationships that we form on campus with the graduate students and make sure that there's always a constant streamlined communication. I work with grad students daily as a part of my job on campus, and being president of Dance Marathon, working with grad students, it's a continuous process, and you can't ignore the overwhelming presence of the impact grad students have on this campus, and we won't ignore that as serving for student body president or vice president when we lead. And no matter what we do, every voice will be heard.
This question was submitted by Mike Helms. What will each of the candidates, if elected, do to reach out to part-time adult students at the university?
Reaching out to part-time students at the university is going to be something that we really don't see any different than meeting with every other student, because every voice is equal. Like we just mentioned, we've shown that as communications director in student government, it's part of our job to make sure that students are being heard, students are being listened to, and the status of each student, part-time, full-time, it's very different, and it impacts students in different ways. That student has shown that there is a need for part-time students to be heard, and enough so that they submitted a question is something that we can't ignore. So working with those students, making sure that we're getting that face time out there, we're making ourselves available, we're making ourselves visible, we're going to be on campus, in the brickyard, having lunches with students, getting that relationships formed with administrators strong so that we're going to be an advocator no matter how much time they spend at this university, because we're all lucky to be a part of the Wolf Pack, and that's who we're going to represent.
Before I arrived at NC State, I spent a semester at Wade Tech, and while I was there, I met individuals who basically mirrored the part-time relationship that individuals here at State have. And that part-time schedule reflects so much on how these individuals do not have the average schedule that most of us are very fortunate and blessed to have. These students have families, or they have to go to work in order to push themselves through college, and they deserve to have those busy schedules reflected and to be honored, and to know that their student leaders understand that they do not have the average schedule that many students on this campus have, and that we understand how busy they are, and we're going to respect that, and we're going to protect them and give them the amount of transparency and advocacy that any student on this campus deserves, whether part-time or full-time.
the other day, and I was out on the campaign trail, and I came across a young lady, and I said, "Ma'am, my name's Devin Riley, and I'm running for student body vice president." And she says, "I don't care, I'm a part-time grad student, I can't vote." I said, "Well, ma'am, you're wrong. You can vote. In fact, Rusty will be a grad student next year, and he can represent you." She said, "I don't care, I still won't vote." That is a problem. That is a problem we have. It says to me straight up that our part-time students don't feel included on this university, say, as included as the ones that come in as freshmen and go to the dorms and live here all the time. And I've been fortunate enough to grow up in a home with a mother and a grandmother that got their college degrees part-time. And so I've had conversations with them about, their university life as they were going to school, and they said, it really just felt like another part-time job to go to school. And so Rusty and I can say without a doubt that it would be one of our missions to try and make these part-time students feel like a part of the Wolfpack as they are. They pay to go to school here. They deserve to feel like they go to school here and howl like a wolf, just like everyone else.
A big problem with student government communication is that people don't read emails. Especially with busy students, they're not going to read an email about on-campus events. It's up to us to go to the part-time adult students, to go to those classes, to go to the night classes in our MBA programs or other programs, and talk to them, say, what can we do? We'd like to do it each and every week. As a graduate student, I'm in class with some of those part-time adult students, and I hear that they don't care about student government because student government, they think, doesn't do anything for them. So we're going to go to them, ask them what they think, and get results based on their suggestions.
Many people have likened NC State's student government to a high school one in which students vie for personal ambition and benefit rather than the good of the Wolfpack community. Why or why not is this issue raised problematic, and as student body president, how would you plan to remedy it?
First off, after 1 year in student government, I agree. About 7 years ago, we had a pirate captain elected student body president here at NC State, and that's a problem. In student government, you see people who are headstrong, with their ultimate goal of being student body president, or holding a title, or just being involved with the name student government. But the fact of the matter is, our student leaders need to be committed to serving students, to putting students first. Devin and I have already spoken, and our first mission, if elected, is to come up with a cohesive team of individuals who truly care. Those who take the time to write questions like that to compare student government to high school. Those who want to see student government change. We are not institutionalized members of student government, and we're going to find other students who aren't. Our campaign team is made up of mostly students who have zero experience in student government, and that's because they wanted to see a change. They wanted to see our student government advocate for students to the Board of Trustees. They wanted to see us have meetings with Governor Pat McCrory and Lieutenant Governor Dan Forrest. And they wanted to see us listen to every student on our campus, be it part-time adults or full-time undergrads. And that's what we're going to do. And we're going to tell people from day one that we won't put up with title grabbing or resume building.
This is an issue that was brought to Grant and I's attention a while ago, meeting with students, and it's something that we just recently brought up in the debate, that we recognize that students will come into student government seeking a title or holding on to their position just for the sake of being a part of student government, and that's the reason why we're running, because Grant and I are different. Grant and I put action behind our words, and we meet with those students to figure out what should be on the platform and what we should support, because we want to prove to students that we're out there to listen, that it's not something that we're starting, it's something that we're continuing. It's something that we put our passion behind, our heart behind, because what lies in our hearts is being able to make students the depth and the root of our platform, and knowing that we can continue to build a team that shares the same passion as we do for supporting student government is something that we're going to continue.
I think that's an interesting question because I was involved with student government in high school. But the great thing about coming to college was my older brother, he was a senator here at state. And he told me that when coming to student government at a college level, you're going to have that accountability. And that's what's going to be so much more powerful at the college level. You're going to either get appointed or you're going to run for a seat, and you're going to be held accountable to fulfill that seat in that role. And that is why I love student government at the college level. It's because I do want to be held accountable, and I want to hold others accountable for their role. If you're not doing your job, then you don't need to have that position. And next year, we're going to make sure that happens. If you're not fulfilling that role for the students that elected you, then you don't need to be serving that role.
All right, thank you. That concludes the submitted questions portion of the debate, and now we will open the floor to questions from audience members. So if there are any, make them known now. All right. Yeah.
I have a question specifically for Elena. I'm a member of Student Senate, and I'm aware that many leaders in the executive branch are required to be officially confirmed by Senate. And just going over old legislation, I saw that your appointment or confirmation by Student Senate was never passed or heard by Student Senate because you weren't in attendance. And I'm just curious, you've been calling yourself Deputy Director of Communications, yet you haven't officially been confirmed by Senate, which is unconstitutional and it does not follow the statutes of student government. Do you have any explanation why you were never appointed or confirmed by Senate?
That's a great question, Carson. So my position with student government began when I was a freshman, and I maintained an active face in forming the relationships as a senator, and then again the next year working in the executive branch of student government. The next year, when I wanted to be a part of student government in the executive branch to serve with Grant as co-directors of the Communications Commission, that specific instance that I wasn't in attendance was never brought to my attention that it existed, because I know that Matt Williams was one of the people that came to me personally during the summer and asked me to be on his cabinet. So if that was never brought up, then I would like to hold others accountable as well, because if students do not know, then why is it that the leaders of the organization never came forward and making that possible? I don't believe that you need a title to serve students and to be a leader on campus, and I wasn't after a title. I wasn't after anything in specific to be put in the legislature to make sure that I needed a title to do my job, because what I really cared about was serving students and meeting with students, and whether or not it was official in the books, it was official in my heart. And that's what I've showed to students, is that title or not, putting it on a resume or not, I was still going to go out there and I was still going to do my job, be at every one of those student government meetings.
Do you mind if I respond to that?
Go ahead.
Carson, I also consider myself the Deputy Director of Campus Outreach, and I was not confirmed by the Senate either. And I wasn't aware that was the protocol, but like Elena, I was asked by Matt Williams to be on the cabinet, and I showed up on day one to serve, not to be confirmed by the Senate like Elena. So I want to clear that up.
Could I just ask a follow-up? Is that fine?
Go ahead.
I was actually looking at everyone's file in student government just to familiarize myself with the candidates, so I know everyone a little bit better and their involvement. I just have the piece of legislation up here where Elena's name on it, and there's like no vote on it. However, all of the other chairs that Matt Williams appointed to student government have been voted on by Senate. And I feel like that I do understand that it's official in your heart. However, I feel like it's a certain level of respect to student government to follow the statutes if they're there. And I feel like if there's a blank bill with no vote on it and all of your counterparts have votes on it, I feel like that kind of speaks on accountability.
Carson, I think everyone in this room knows there was a transition of power during the summer and into this year. So I would appreciate if you would respect that, and then that's something that you can bring up with Alex Parker or Matt Williams. But I believe during that transition, there were roles that were appointed, and whether those roles were officiated, there was a transition of power. And we all know in this room that that has been a hardship, but it has also been an opportunity for this branch of student government.
I just want to say that I think it's important to look at a person's record of accomplishment and what they've done in student government. It doesn't matter what the title is. It's all about whether you respect the integrity of the organization and whether you are truly committed to putting students first. And that's something that Devin and I have done and we've shown, and that's something we'll continue to do as student body president and vice president.
And I've said since day one, you know, Rachel Gibson and myself, we saw our commission sort of fall through the cracks with the transition. And we're sorry for that, but I'm not sorry that I had the opportunity to be a Minuteman in the executive branch, really, and be able to participate in the activities that each commission did. And I think that's given me a great opportunity to have a broad spectrum of opinion on the executive branch as a whole.
Thank you. We'll go to this gentleman back here for our next question.
Thank you. I'm Matt Miller. I'm the president of the University Graduate Student Association, and I know for a fact graduate students do not vote well in these elections, but I also know that the turnout from undergrads is also lower than everyone would like. Also evidenced by this is the fact that there are only 3 questions submitted to the technician. What is one thing you will do about apathy among students, and how will you try to address that?
I think the biggest problem with student government's mission is in itself apathy. There's a lack of accountability to students, and there's a problem with institutional buy-in. We have to give students a reason to care. We have to give them events that are visible on campus. Things like Wear Red Friday help show students that student government does something for them. Bringing events like Camp Out back to campus so that students understand that student government works for them. Having a student government tent at tailgate, passing out information, doing anything we can to show students that student government even exists, because when you ask most students what student government does for them, they say, I have no idea. Next year, apathy is going to be a little bit easier to fix because it's an election year, and that's something that we can tie into student government elections. And we can release surveys on campus and really focus on our students to give their feedback, because their voice will be heard.
Thank you for your question. It actually reminds me of my favorite quote. It goes, if you want to build a ship, don't just drum up people and give them wood and tasks. You instead teach them to yearn for the immensity of the sea. And that's what I really brought forward with me when I was working on the platform, is that I don't want to just tell people to vote, make them vote, hand them flyers. I don't want to just tell students and mandate them to care. I instead want them to really find themselves relating to the platform, relating to our mission, and wanting to vote, wanting to be a supporting member at NC State of student government because they believe in the mission and the people and groups of organizations that we represent. So what Grant and I want to do to help battle the apathy that is so ever present here on campus is to make sure students know that their voices are going to be heard, to make sure that we're visible no matter where we're at or what we're doing, and that we're representing student government's integrity to the best of our ability. And that means that we're letting students be aware of the transparency, everything that student government's tackling and hoping to tackle, and constantly asking for feedback and communication.
And I think this goes back to when we were talking one night during the campaign trail was, this has nothing really to do with me or Elena or any of the candidates. And there are many leaders in this room, and I know you this as well. I know you know this as well, where this doesn't have to do with your title or your position or who you are. This has to do with the students of this campus, of this school. The students need to know that when it comes time for an election or a campaign, they're choosing a choice for themselves. It has nothing to do with us. We are just a bridge. and we are going to be utilized by the students for their greater power to be able to foresee their future here on this campus and in the community to grow to its potential.
All right, everyone, it is now about 5 minutes after 7. We have this room reserved until 7. And so with that, I think we will conclude this evening's debate. Thank you all for coming, and remember that elections for the polls open on April 1st and close on April 2nd. Thank you for coming.
Thank you everyone for coming.